Welcome to. I wanted to break down here. My name's Andrew Cooperrider. Sorry, uh, my name's Andrew Cooperrider, and I wanted to talk about the state Supreme Court ruling from Saturday. What does that mean? I know there's been some questions asking about it, and so I want to break that down. Kind of talk about where do I think the state's going to go from there. Speculation purely. Talk about there's a couple other issues weighing on my mind here in Kentucky, and one particular piece of tyranny, and so I'm going to go into that. Please feel free to share this video with your friends, family, what have you, as they ask questions about what all has happened. Before I deep dive into that ruling, though, I just want to remind everybody that I am running for state senate, 12th district in Kentucky, and I would really appreciate everybody's support. Um, it's not a secret that when you're running up against some of the things we're running against, we're going to have a lot thrown at us from all sides, and as much support from the people as we can get, the best. So please go to Andrew, Andrew, 4ky.com/donate, or you can go to Cooperrider, 4ky.com/donate, but you can go to Andrew, for the number 4 ky.com/donate, and you can donate to the campaign. And I ask that you do that for us. Thank you so much. So let's go into. So what was this case? So the case that they issued rulings on was two cases: the Goodwood case and the larger case that occurred from back during this legislative session. So for those who are unaware, what had happened during this last legislative session is the legislator passed a bill, 3 bills, to define in the governor's powers. 39A is the emergency powers statutes, and so they wanted to define in what the governor could or couldn't do. And so they passed 3 laws: SB1, SB2, and HB1, that all did a couple of things. One of the first things that they did was they made it to where the governor couldn't suspend laws. So under the old 39A, the governor could suspend duly passed law and be allowed to pretty much make it up as he goes. The reason why this is important as we talk about things is because him being able to suspend a law is the entire reason that he could be able to get around any other laws passed. So what they did is they made it to where the attorney general, the governor would have to request from the attorney general to suspend a law. The attorney general would have to approve said request in order to get that law suspended. And so what happened was that that was SB1, I believe. SB2 had a couple other things in it. HB1 was a law passed that said that a business's ability to fully operate couldn't be infringed upon. So basically, a business has the ability to completely and fully operate. So basically, you couldn't do capacity restrictions and some of the other stuff that we've seen the governor doing. And so those laws passed. Well, the governor didn't like those laws, so he went to Judge Shepard, who he asked him to injunctify the law. I don't know quite how a judge injunctifies a duly passed law at the governor's request, because the governor has veto. He doesn't get a second check, but he goes for a second check, I guess, that he's making up, and sues the attorney general and the legislator for passing that law. A legal move that is extremely unclear on what that does or what it even at all has to do. And so that moves forward to the state Supreme Court because Judge Shepard has injunctified this law. There's a lot of other cases that then started flying. The Boone County case that has an injunction against the governor. We had that federal case real recently. And so other cases started flying. And they made it pretty clear that the Goodwood case, they made it pretty clear that Judge Shepard's injunctifying that law was not legal, and other judges were overruling him in their areas, and even possibly for the whole state, which is what Judge Bergman did with the Boone County ruling. And so when that federal ruling was issued that said when a governor can ignore duly passed laws, therein lies tyranny. That was a federal judge made that ruling about Beshear's recent mask mandates that occurred, and that was earlier this week. And so that put the Supreme Court in a position, the state Supreme Court were in a position where it needed to make a ruling on whether or not that injunction stands or not, because there's a lot of cases coming around, even federally now, surrounding that idea. And so the Supreme Court correctly ruled that that injunction was completely improper. HB1, SB1, and SB2 are law. And because they are law, House Joint Resolution 77, which approved which mandates could go forward and which ones couldn't, of those mask mandates and as such. And also as well, they passed a budget that says that the governor cannot expend money enforcing past in violation of those laws. So, which gets interesting here in a bit when we talk about something else. So the governor now is supposed to, the intention of these laws is very straightforward. If the governor needs to make mandates, if things are so terrible and awful with COVID that we need to make mandates, he can call a special session of the legislature where they can meet, debate, look at all sides of things, question publicly the data, the experts, to find out where they're coming from, call their own experts. So for an example, if we're looking at closing restaurants, find out what the impact of that will be. What are the side effects of those types of mandates? And that's what he has to do now. And the governor, of course, doesn't like that, but that's what his options are. Now, we all know the governor doesn't like that. He's not going to call a special session anytime soon. At least I don't think so. If he does, I would be shocked if he does. Shocked. However, what will be interesting to see is how he weasels out of this one. And what I think the governor will do is he'll start using his boards like ABC and all these other boards to pass regulations that aren't specifically forbidden. However, HB1 does cover everyone. So it's not as if HB1's been held up as law. So gets a little hard for some of these administrative regulations to sit there and make the claim that they can start enforcing mandates that the governor's not allowed to pass themselves and start coming them up with pressure from Beshear. Listen, we know Beshear can't make vaccine mandates here in Kentucky. SB 8 stops him from doing that. So what is he doing? Well, he's pressuring hospitals to mandate that vaccine, something we'll return to here in a second, just in a second. So he's going to try to weasel out of this by getting these boards and other places to enforce masking, enforce mandates. I mean, we see this across the board, right? So, for example, the federal government can't enforce a mask mandate other than on federal property. But what they're also doing is they've been going after food processors through the FDA. So for those who don't know, an FDA inspector has to remain on site at food processing places. And so what they've been doing is they've been failing people's inspections if they're not mandating their employees are masked. And I'm sure they're going to change that into vaccinated. So the federal government is toying with an idea to require your food processors to have all vaccinated staff, or they're not allowed to operate. Now, of course, that will only lead to food shortages as people who are unvaccinated are not going to necessarily decide to. And at the end of the day, too, when you start really talking to people who are unvaccinated. So, for an example, being honest here, guys, I am unvaccinated, but that's because I've had COVID a little while ago. And, I feel, I haven't seen a whole lot of support saying that natural immunity, when it runs out, what that time frame is. I know we see a lot of things with the Delta variant, and that's my own private healthcare decision, right? But I tell you what makes me weirded out is when we are doing all these mandates enforcing and people are going door to door about it. Like, that just kind of weirds everybody out. And at this point, if the government was smart, they'd realize people like me, if you're really trying to get us vaccinated, what you do is you leave us alone. Just leave us alone and let it march forward so we can make our own decisions and maybe put out data as you come across it, right? But this forcing, the fact you're moving into forcing, is only going to cause those people who are not vaccinated, like myself, to be even more suspicious of what's going on here, because it does. You start to wonder. You're like, what is going on? Anyways, sorry, didn't mean to get off on that tangent. But I do believe everybody has the ability to make their own private decisions. I've said many times on my videos that, if I was older, more at risk, I probably hadn't had COVID, I'd probably get vaccinated. But I know a lot of people out there feel differently about it, and that's okay. Because what we're finding as we stand up against these mandates is there's a lot of people who are vaccinated, like the vast majority, that don't believe in mandates either. And it's a mistake to believe a person's vaccination status is an indication of their support for mandates. That's an incorrect thing to assume. Now, going back into what the governor will do. So I think what we'll see is some of these boards and things like we saw recently with the department board getting pressure from the governor to put in the mandates he can't make. That's an option. Option two, he may martyr this. He may be like, listen, I'm going to do what's right. I'm going to have the guts to do it. I'm going to mandate masks, and then never actually enforce it, but say it. So a bunch of businesses will do it. But he'll use the argument, because if you've ever gone up against this guy in court, you kind of know what the arguments are going to be. His arguments are always basically, well, yeah, maybe that was against rules, but I didn't actually do it. That's like a real argument he uses all the time. So he'll take things to the edge. He'll mandate masks, but because he didn't actually hurt anybody, quote unquote, or actually take away anybody's licenses for it, he'll claim that he hasn't actually hurt anybody, which is untrue and also leads to some mass confusion on the ground. But that's kind of been his MO this entire time. You may also start to see local departments trying to mandate things, like health departments. And as such, you might even see him try to do an NTI thing with schools that he can't actually do. Who knows as far as that goes. But I don't think this is far from over on that front. In fact, I think we're dealing with a new set of problems. I mean, like I said earlier, we have the vaccine mandates coming down that are going to cause a lot of issues and are of big concern to me. It is a big concern to me that during a pandemic, we're requiring these employees to be vaxxed or fired when we're already short-staffed in the hospitals. That seems like a recipe for disaster. When we're already short-staffed with medical staff, and then we go ahead and decide, hey, you know what, we're going to go ahead and fire a lot of our medical staff. That doesn't make much sense to me at all. But on top of that, we've got another looming problem federally, that if we had a state legislator that could stand up, and perhaps the AG could try to file a 10th Amendment motion here, there's definitely some more our state government can do. But we've got a big problem, and that is this federal vaccine mandate. What they're doing is they're saying if nursing home staff are not mandated to be vaccinated, you're not going to get federal funding, which is a big problem for Eastern and Western Kentucky. I know there's a part of Lancaster that there's a nursing home there that has like 6 out of 105 staff vaccinated. And so they're going to have to choose to fire almost all their staff, or they can't take federal funding, but all their patients are on Medicare, Medicaid. So that means that these homes, these senior citizens in rural Kentucky will be underserved, which will only lead to more deaths. I mean, I'm sure if you ask these senior citizens, would you rather have staff unvaccinated but enough staff to take care of you? Or would you rather have only vaccinated staff but not nearly enough to take care of you? And that is a recipe for deaths in nursing homes. Understaffed nursing homes is far more dangerous than I think unvaccinated people might be. And I think it'll cause far more deaths than what COVID ever could. In my humblest of opinions, it is a bad move. It is a bad move, and it's going to spell disaster for nursing homes here in Kentucky. And if our state legislator, if our state AG, if anybody in our state government could somehow find enough wherewithal and to not just have empty words about this issue, but to stand up and say, we're going to sue on this matter to at least get it put on hold, to at least possibly start getting on hold this mandate to help our seniors in Kentucky, that'd be great. But what are we hearing from them? Guys, once again, we're hearing crickets from most of our state government on this. In fact, when it comes to the hospital mandates, I am told that there's a couple hospitals that aren't requiring mandates, and they start advertising that they're hiring. They're like, hey, we're not going to require you to get vaccinated. Come on over here if you're worried about your job. And word on the street is that Dr. Stack called them up and gave them quite a tongue lashing for advertising that they wouldn't require nursing staff to be vaccinated, and they had to back off of that advertising. They're not going to require their staff to be vaccinated, but they backed off that exact advertising. And that just goes to show you some of the tyranny that goes on with this system, where we have an overbearing, out of control government. And that's, as you guys know, that's why I'm running for office, is to hopefully start to make some change there as well. So, and one more thing that I came across yesterday: hundreds of businesses are being enforced against by the ABC. Now, we are one of them, right? We are a business, as you guys know, that are being attacked by the ABC. But with these recent court rulings, it changes the playing field a lot more in our favor. And so if there's any restaurants or bars out there, or even gas stations, we're ticked here, that were faced ABC actions, or have lost their licenses, or are in process to fight over it, or reach out to us, let us know over on the Facebooks. You can email us. You can go to CoopWriter4KY, shoot me an email. We might be able to help you out there. But more importantly, hundreds, guys, and they're losing their licenses. Let's break it down here. These people, okay, when you're faced with a rule that they are risking getting in trouble with the ABC for a reason. It is not because they care more about money than they do lives. It's because they're just trying to survive. And let's not forget that customers have to freely choose to still show up when they know they're not supposed to. So it's not like they're doing it alone, right? If all the customers in the area. So what it really is so, these enforcement actions, which came about from an open records request, and it's hundreds of businesses. And I posted about this on Brood there yesterday, but it's hundreds of businesses. And what these enforcement actions are over, for example, there's a Speedway that lost their liquor license for 100 days because they were not enforcing masks enough and went over capacity in a rural town at a gas station. And it's like, come on, guys. Like at some point you're just upset. Why? Because other people aren't as afraid as you to follow the mandates. I mean, that's what mandates are, right? Mandates are there because you do not trust others to make decisions, or you don't think they can make their own decisions about their own health and well-being. Instead, what it comes from is from people just wanting to control others and say, hey, well, you should be more afraid of this. Okay, well, I'm not that afraid. Okay, I want to go get a drink at the bar. That to me is living life. I want to hang out with my friends. I want to go out. I want to do things. This is not enough of a risk to me to give up the life I want to live. And that's my decision I made. And that bar owner decided, hey, this isn't as much of a risk to me as losing my businesses. So I want to stay open. That's a decision they made. You just don't like it. And they need to get over it. But this desire to control others led to, we're talking crazy things. And then you read the logs too on these open records requests, and they're posted there on Facebook. And it is like another business calling in another business because they're like, well, they're doing too well, and so they're open past this time. Neighbors turning on neighbors to a tip line. And it's ridiculous. And I'm sorry, it is just quite frankly preposterous that this is what we came to. And you read through these hundreds of business owners, they're just trying to survive. They're just trying to survive. They're just trying to make it. That's all they're trying to do. And a lot of people ask, well, why didn't more bars, why didn't more restaurants stand up and fight it like you guys did? Listen, remember, guys, when they came and took our liquor license, we kept operating, but we didn't sell beer anymore. We did stop selling alcohol because there's so many externalities to go on there. In the state of Kentucky, in order to buy alcohol, you have to go to a distributor. And that distributor will lose their license for selling to somebody who doesn't have a license. It is illegal in the state of Kentucky for a person, even if they have an ABC license, to go down to Walmart, purchase a 6-pack, and throw beer up on the shelf. You have to buy it from a distributor. So when they take the license, you can't get your distributors to sell to you because they will lose their licenses. It's called a 3-tier system, and it sounds like 3 tiers of tyranny. And so that's why they couldn't stand up, because if they're losing their business, okay. So when we're looking at it, we're saying, hey, I cannot financially afford to survive as a shop. I'm losing my business. I'm going to stand up and keep going, right? But when it comes to these bars, if they serve without a license, that's a heavy criminal charges. And they got to get that alcohol from somewhere. That's additional criminal charges. And so they're facing a lot of charges and their business going away no matter what. So if you're going to lose your business because you have to close down and you can't afford to exist, compared to losing your business because, well, you can't buy alcohol and you're never going to be able to get an alcohol license again, for them, it made more sense to lose everything because that was their best shot at getting it back. And I said this in the post the other day, and this is just kind of what I want to end with. You know, all these people on this, the mandate side of things, they had no problem coming together and saying, for the greater good, we need to close you down and take everything from you. But I wonder if at the other end of this, that the community is going to come together and make that business owner whole. Are they going to help them rebuild? Most likely not. Well, guys, I just want to give you a quick update there on the Supreme Court case, what I think is going to happen there. A couple other things I see impending and happening. Just thought I'd shoot a quick video. Please, if you can, donate to the campaign. Cooper Rider 4KY, COOPERRIDER for the number 4KY.com/donate, or Andrew the number 4KY.com/donate, or you can just go to Andrew4KY.com too as well. Thank you guys so much, and feel free to share this out.